Tonight, we begin a journey not across lands, but through a single, quiet life. A journey designed to carry you deep into the heart of stillness, to plant seeds of profound and lasting peace within your mind. There is nothing you need to accomplish here. There are no lessons to memorize, no techniques to master. These words are simply a gentle river, and your only task is to allow yourself to float upon its current, letting it carry you effortlessly toward the great, silent ocean of sleep. As we begin, feel the weight of your body surrendering to the surface beneath you. Feel the gentle, rhythmic rise and fall of your own breath, a quiet anchor in the endless sea of the present moment. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. Simply breathe with me as we step onto this gentle path into rest. In a monastery perched high among mist-shrouded peaks, a place known as Serene Peak Monastery, there lived a young man named Kaelen. He had not come to the mountains seeking escape, but with a heart burning with a fierce ambition for enlightenment. He believed wisdom was a treasure to be acquired, a peak to be conquered through sheer force of will and intellect. The monastery's most prized possession was its ancient library, a magnificent hall of dark, fragrant cedarwood where thousands of scrolls contained the collected teachings of masters from centuries past. For Kaelen, this library was the entire world. He saw enlightenment not as a state of being, but as a body of knowledge to be consumed. He would spend every waking hour that he was not in silent meditation or performing his chores amidst the towering shelves, the air thick with the scent of aged paper and dried ink. He devoured the sutras, memorized complex philosophical treatises, and debated their meanings endlessly in his own mind. He believed that if he could just learn enough, if he could just understand every word on every scroll, peace would be his prize. He was a collector of words, a hoarder of concepts, and his mind was a fortress built of borrowed wisdom. He was polishing the finger that pointed at the moon, utterly convinced that the finger itself was the celestial body he sought. One cold autumn night, as the monks slept and the mountain was wrapped in a profound silence, a single ember escaped from the kitchen hearth. Fanned by a fierce, howling wind that swept down from the highest peaks, it grew with terrifying speed. A fire began to tear through the dry wooden structures of the monastery. The alarm was raised, and the monks, their faces stark in the flickering orange light, managed to escape into the central courtyard. They stood huddled together, watching in shared, helpless silence as their home, a place that had stood for generations, was consumed by the roaring flames. The library, Karen's sanctuary, his entire world, burned with a particular, terrible intensity. He watched, his body frozen, his mind numb, as 40 years of his own future plans and 1,000 years of collected wisdom turned to black ash and rose into the unforgiving night sky. The fire did not just burn wood and paper, it burned the very foundation of his identity. By the time the first gray light of dawn broke over the smoldering, blackened ruins, Kaelen felt that he, too, was nothing but ash. The monks gathered around their elderly abbot, Master Jinsei, a man whose face was a landscape of gentle wrinkles, each one seemingly carved by a quiet smile. Kaelen expected to find him broken, devastated by this immense, irreplaceable loss. Instead, he found Master Jinsei sitting calmly on a large, unburnt stone at the edge of the courtyard, his hands resting in his lap, watching the thin ribbons of smoke rise from where his beloved library had stood. His face showed no trace of anger, no flicker of grief, no shadow of regret. It held only a deep, quiet stillness, as if he were watching the morning mist rise from a valley floor. Kaelen, his own heart a shattered vessel, could not bear the disconnect between his own inner devastation and his master's serenity. He approached him, his movements stiff with grief, tears streaming unnoticed down his smoke-stained cheeks. "Master," he said, his voice cracking, a raw whisper of disbelief. "How can you be so peaceful? Everything is gone. All the precious teachings, all the years of work, all the wisdom of the ancients, everything is lost forever. Doesn't this loss break your heart?" Master Jinsei looked up at his distraught student, and his eyes, clear and deep as a mountain lake, were filled with a gentle, profound compassion. "My dear Kaelen," he said softly, his voice as calm as the stone upon which he sat, "those books, those beautiful scrolls, they contained wonderful words about the truth, but they were never the truth itself. For so long, we spent our time polishing and protecting the finger that points at the moon, and in our diligence, we sometimes forgot to look up at the moon itself. The real Dharma was never written on paper or stored on shelves. It lives here," he said, and with a slow, deliberate movement, he touched his own chest, over his heart. "And it lives here," he continued, gesturing to Karen's own heart. "Fire cannot burn what is truly precious. The map is not the territory. Yesterday, I was the keeper of maps. Today, I am simply a traveler, just like you." He stood slowly and placed a gentle hand on Karen's trembling shoulder. "The fire has not taken anything essential away from us, my son. It has given us a great and terrible teaching. It has revealed what was always here, beneath all the words and all the ideas. It has left us with nothing but the present moment. And in this moment, there is work to be done." In the days and weeks that followed, Karen's life transformed. His task was no longer to study ancient texts, but to help rebuild the monastery from its ashes. His first and most constant duty was a simple, humbling one: to carry water. Every morning, long before the sun had risen, he would take 2 heavy wooden buckets and walk the long, winding stone path down the mountainside to a natural spring that flowed from the heart of the rock. The path was treacherous, especially in the dark, with loose rocks and steep drops on one side. At first, Karen's mind was a storm of resentment and grief. Each step was a lament. With each bucket of water he hauled back up the steep incline, his mind screamed at the injustice. "I, who have memorized the Diamond Sutra, am now reduced to a beast of burden," he would think. His body was on the path, but his mind was in the past, sifting through the ashes of the library, grieving the lost scrolls. Or it was in the future, worrying about the endless work of rebuilding, his ambition now replaced by a gnawing anxiety. The physical act of carrying water was simple, but he made it a torment through his resistance. He was carrying not just 2 buckets of water, but the crushing weight of his own thoughts. One morning, as he was making his way down the mountain, his mind lost in its usual spiral of regret, Master Jinsei appeared silently on the path beside him. He didn't speak for a long time, simply walking in step with Kaelen, his own breath as steady and quiet as the mountain itself. Finally, he spoke, his voice gentle. "Kaelen," he said, "tell me, what does the water feel like in the buckets as you walk? Can you feel its weight shifting with your steps?" Kaelen was taken aback. He had never once considered it. He focused, and for the first time, he felt the heavy sloshing, a liquid dance that responded to his own rhythm. "And the handle of the bucket," Jinsei continued, "what does the wood feel like in your palm? Is it smooth or rough? Is it cold from the morning air? Kaelen focused on his hand. He felt the worn, polished grain of the wood, the subtle indentations where his fingers had gripped it hundreds of times before. And the path, the master whispered. What does the gravel sound like under your sandals? Is it a crunch or a scuff? Can you hear the difference between the small stones and the larger ones? Kaelen listened, and he heard it, a soft, rhythmic symphony of sound he had been deaf to. And your breath, Kaelen. Can you feel the cool morning air entering your body and the warm air leaving it? Can you feel the rising and falling of your own chest? In that moment, something profound shifted within Kaelen. He stopped thinking about carrying water, and for the first time, simply was the man carrying water. The past and future dissolved, and all that existed was the feeling of the wood in his hand, the sound of the stones under his feet, the weight of the water in the buckets, and the rhythm of his own breath. He realized, with a clarity that stunned him, that the Dharma, the truth he had been seeking in books, was not an idea to be understood. It was a reality to be experienced. It was here, now, in this simple, undeniable truth of this moment, on this path, with this breath. The resentment in his heart dissolved, replaced by a quiet, simple gratitude. The weight in the buckets was still there, but the weight of his thoughts had vanished. He was just a man carrying water, and it was enough. This became his new practice. Every day, the walk to the spring was his temple, the buckets his sacred texts, and his own breath his master.
As the seasons turned and the years passed, the monastery was slowly rebuilt, not as it was, but as something simpler, more humble. The new library was small, holding only a few essential scrolls, gifts from other monasteries. Kaelen's ambition to become a great scholar had been washed away, replaced by a deep, quiet presence. His new role was in the monastery's garden. He learned to tend the vegetables that fed the community, to understand the language of the soil, the sun, and the rain. One section of the garden, however, had been left wild. At its center stood an ancient, twisted plum tree. Its trunk was gnarled and bent in 3 different directions. Its bark was a landscape of deep scars and weathered fissures, and its branches reached out at strange, almost pained angles. It had clearly been battered by decades of harsh mountain storms. Kaelen's old self, the part of him that still craved order and perfection, saw the tree as an eyesore. "It spoils the harmony of the garden, master," he said to Jinsei one afternoon. "Surely we should remove it and plant something straight and beautiful in its place." Master Jinsei led Kaelen to a simple stone bench facing the twisted tree and invited him to sit. "This tree, Kaelen," he said, his voice full of a strange affection, "is my greatest teacher of the Dharma, far greater than any scroll that was lost in the fire." Kaelen looked confused. What could this broken, damaged tree possibly teach that a healthy one cannot? He asked. The old master placed his weathered hand gently on the tree's gnarled bark. "This tree has been here for over 200 years. It has survived storms that shattered younger, straighter, more perfect trees. The straight trees are beautiful, yes, but their beauty depends on perfect conditions. They must be sheltered from the wind and pruned to maintain their ideal form. This old tree," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper, "has found its own way to be beautiful, not in spite of its imperfect conditions, but because of them. Every scar on its bark tells a story of a storm it survived. Every twisted branch is a testament to its creative response to difficulty. It bent so it would not break. It grew in a new direction when its old path was blocked. It is a living scripture of resilience. Its beauty is not the beauty of ideals. but the beauty of a life fully lived. For the next month, Jinsei gave Kaelen a new task. Every morning, he was to spend an hour simply sitting with the twisted tree. Don't try to fix it or improve it in your mind, the master instructed. Don't judge it or wish it were different. Simply be present with it exactly as it is. The first few days were difficult. Kaelen sat, his mind filled with criticism. The tree looked like a failure, a symbol of everything that goes wrong. But as the days turned into weeks, something began to shift in his perception. He began to notice things he had never seen before. He noticed how the morning light caught the deep grooves in the bark, creating intricate patterns of shadow and illumination. He saw how a small bird had built its nest in one of the most twisted branches, using the unusual angles for perfect protection from predators and wind. He saw the soft green moss that grew in the sheltered hollows of the trunk. By the end of the month, Kaelen found himself looking at the tree not with judgment, but with a deep and quiet reverence. He saw that its twisted form was not a failure to grow properly, but a masterpiece of adaptation. Every bend and curve was the tree's wise response to the particular challenges it had faced. No straight, perfect tree could tell such a rich and profound story of survival. On the final morning, Jinsei joined him on the bench. "What has the tree taught you?" he asked. Kaelen was quiet for a long moment before responding. "It has taught me that there are two kinds of beauty. There is the beauty of a perfect plan, and there is the beauty of a wise response. I came here to wanting to learn how to make things perfect. The tree has shown me how to find the perfection in things exactly as they are." In that moment, Kaelen looked at his own life, the ambition, the fire, the grief, the humbling work, and for the first time, he saw not a series of failures and corrections, but the gnarled, scarred, and uniquely beautiful shape of his own resilience. Even with this deepening wisdom, Kaelen's mind still had its storms. As his meditation practice matured, his ambition returned, but in a new, more insidious form. He became his own harshest critic. If a thought wandered into his mind during zazen, a practice of silent sitting, he would attack himself internally with a savage ferocity. "Failure! You are undisciplined. Look at the other monks. They sit in perfect stillness. What is wrong with you?" If he felt drowsy, he would scold himself for being lazy and weak. His meditation cushion became a battlefield, and he was the aggressor and the victim. He pushed himself relentlessly, sitting for longer hours, enduring excruciating pain in his legs and back, believing that enlightenment could be achieved by crushing his own imperfections into submission. But the harder he fought, the more agitated his mind became. The peace he sought receded further and further away, and his heart grew heavy with a constant, gnawing sense of shame. He was at war with his own mind, and he was losing.
One afternoon, after a particularly brutal session of self-recrimination, he went to the garden, his spirit feeling utterly defeated. He sat beneath the twisted plum tree, the very symbol of acceptance, and felt tears of frustration well up in his eyes. Master Jinsei, seeming to always appear when he was most needed, came and sat beside him. He didn't ask what was wrong. He simply sat in the shared silence for a long time. Then he pointed to a small brown bird pecking at the ground nearby, searching for seeds. "Watch that little bird, Kaelen," Master Yuki said softly. "See how naturally it moves? It does not criticize itself for failing to find a seed with every peck. It does not compare its song to the song of the nightingale. It simply does what a bird does, moment by moment,
with complete acceptance of its own nature. Kaelen watched the bird, struck by its effortless, unself-conscious presence. "Now," the master continued, his voice a gentle murmur, "imagine if that bird spent all its energy telling itself it was a terrible bird, that it should fly higher, sing more beautifully, or find seeds more efficiently. What would happen to its natural ability to simply be a bird? What would happen to its joy?" Kaelen saw it instantly. It would be too busy judging itself to do what it naturally knows how to do, he whispered. Master Jinsei nodded. "You came here to learn compassion, Kaelen. But the first and most difficult place to practice that compassion is with yourself. How can you offer kindness to a world in pain if you show nothing but harshness to your own heart? How can you find peace in the temple if you are at war with your own mind?" The master's words landed not as a criticism, but as a profound and liberating truth. The path to awakening is not about becoming a perfect, thought-free meditator. It is about becoming a kind one. Your mind will wander. That is its nature. The practice is not to stop the wandering, but to notice it, and with the same gentle, loving patience you would show a beloved child who has stumbled while learning to walk, you simply guide it back, again and again and again. Kindness is the path, Kaelen, not perfection. From that day forward, Kaelen's practice was transformed once more. When a thought arose, he learned to greet it not as an enemy, but as a passing cloud. He would acknowledge it softly in his mind, thinking, worrying, planning, and then, with a feeling of profound gentleness, he would guide his attention back to the anchor of his breath. Instead of punishing his body, he learned to listen to it, adjusting his posture with respect, treating his physical needs not as weaknesses, but as part of the practice itself. The inner critic did not vanish overnight, but now, when its harsh voice arose, Kaelen would meet it with compassion. "Ah, the voice of judgment is here again. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I am safe." The war ended, and in the silence that followed, he began to taste the peace he had been fighting so hard to achieve. Years flowed into decades, and Kaelen, now a senior teacher himself, his hair streaked with the silver of mountain snow, faced a new trial. A harsh famine, born of a long drought, fell upon the land. The harvest failed, and the people in the valley below began to starve. Desperation drove good people to do difficult things, and soon small groups of men began stealing from the monastery's grain stores in the dead of night. The younger monks, their hearts full of a righteous fear, came to Kaelen. "Master, we must build higher walls, we must set guards, we must punish these thieves to show them we will not be a target." Kaelen listened to their fearful pleas, and he remembered a library of ash, a path with 2 buckets of water, a twisted tree, and the quiet war within his own mind. He knew that fear could not be met with walls, that suffering could not be cured by punishment. That night, instead of setting guards, he did something that horrified the younger monks. He took half of the monastery's remaining grain and left it in large sacks just outside the main gate, with a simple sign that read, "This is for all who are hungry. Take what you need. There is no need to steal what is freely given." The younger monks were aghast. "Master, you are rewarding them. You are encouraging them," they protested. Kaelen looked at them, his eyes holding the same deep compassion he had once received from Jinsei. A person does not steal bread because they are evil. They steal bread because their children are hungry. Their hunger is a raging fire. We cannot fight that fire with stone walls. We must meet it with the water of compassion.
A few nights later, he waited by the gate. The men came, cautiously at first, and were stunned to find the grain waiting for them.
Kaelen stepped out of the shadows, not with a weapon, but with his hands open. "The winter is long and hard," he said. "Come inside. There is warm soup and a place by the fire." He led them in, and as they ate, he did not lecture or scold them. He listened to their stories of lost work and starving families. And then he offered them work, helping to clear new land for a late-season crop in exchange for food and shelter. The thieves became workers. The fear in the monastery transformed into a community of shared effort. And the act of compassion created more abundance than hoarding ever could have. Kaelen had learned that true safety does not come from walls that keep others out, but from a heart that is open enough to let others in. Now, as an old man, as old as Jinsai had been when the library burned, his body as gnarled and weathered as the ancient plum tree, Kaelen often sits on the same stone bench in the garden. Young, ambitious students come to him, their hearts burning with the same fire he once had. They ask him complex questions about the sutras, about the nature of reality, about the fastest path to enlightenment. Kaelen listens patiently, and then he tells them a story. Sometimes he tells them about a library of ash, or about the feeling of water in a bucket on a long path. Sometimes he points to the twisted plum tree and speaks of its resilience. And sometimes he simply asks them to close their eyes and listen to the sound of their own breath, and to be as kind to their own struggling mind as they would be to a small, lost bird. He has become the living embodiment of the peace he once sought so desperately in books. His life itself has become the final scroll, a teaching not of words, but of a profound, simple, and unwavering peace. He knows that enlightenment is not a destination to be reached, but the simple, compassionate awareness of the journey itself, with all its fires, its heavy loads, its twisted branches, and its endless opportunities for kindness. And in this great, quiet peace, you too can now rest. Let the story of Kaelen's life be a gentle lullaby for your own. Let go of your own ambitions for the night, the battles you are fighting with the world or with yourself. Let go of the past you cannot change, and the future you cannot control. Feel the simple, profound reality of this moment, the weight of your body held and supported, the soft darkness behind your eyes, the gentle rhythmic tide of your own breath, rising and falling, a faithful companion on this journey into deep, restorative rest. Just as Kaelen learned that peace was not in the scrolls, but in the silence between them, you too can find your own peace, not in striving, but in surrender. There is nothing to fix, nothing to solve. There is only this moment, and this breath, and the gentle, welcoming quiet of the night. Let it hold you. Let it soothe you. Let it carry you down, 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 into the deep, healing stillness of sleep. Rest now. Rest deeply.